Ce avansăm în dezbatere, sper să intrăm și mai în profunzimea subiectelor pe care le vrem dezbătute astăzi cu privire la reconstrucția Ucrainei. Am privilegiul de a modera acest panel despre importanța strategică a reconstrucției Ucrainei pentru România și Republica Moldova, alături de excelența sa Andrei, SPîNU, Ministrul Infrastructurii și Dezvoltării Regionale din Republica Moldova, care va intra prin VTC, și de prietenii și colegii mei, domnul CERCENSCU, CEO la New Strategy Center, domnul Cătălin, PODARU, CEO la Leviatan Design și domnul Bogdan Cernescu, Managing Director și Head of Corporate Banking la BCR. Patru perspective diferite, un responsabil guvernamental,
Four different perspectives. So alongside my friends SCUTARU, CEO of New Strategy Center, Cătălin PODARU, CEO of Leviatan Design, Bogdan Cernescu, Managing Director, PCR. I guess this will give us four different perspectives on the reconstruction. Can we now maybe enter, get online with His Excellency Andrei SPîNU? Hello? Let me know if you hear me. Yes, we hear you well. Hello, everyone. Apologies for not being in Sinaia, although I actually planned on getting there. At this start of the panel, let me stress that in Chișinău and in the ministry that I represent, we try to mention things clearly. When we speak of the reconstruction of Ukraine, in my opinion, it has to come in a package with the reconstruction of the Republic of Moldova. Let me explain why. It is true that the war that Russia started in Ukraine does not mean yet bombs across the border into the Republic of Moldova. But we had a similar war in 1992, and since the independence, we believe that we were subject to a hybrid war that led to a serious damaging of the country infrastructure, road, railway, airports, harbors, or access to the Danube. So if we take each of these sectors and many others, we see that it's a very complicated situation. And in my opinion, this was done with a very good intention by very many governments that served the regime in Kremlin. And in the discussions that we're having with the partners, this is what we're trying to voice, that Moldova should be helped in order to help Ukraine. Otherwise, things don't look well for us and for others. Take a very good example at the Moldova and Romania. You've got crossing points. You've got any transport of raw matter, raw materials, or other type of transport between Moldova and Romania is going to lead to the same blockages that we see now, and same bottlenecks. We all see them. We shouldn't explain this too much. If, according to certain estimates, in the period between the two world wars, we had 177 bridges between Moldova and Romania, we now have just a few and of small capacity. That is why I stress again the need to speak of the reconstruction of Ukraine and of Moldova in a package, which means roads, railway, and so on. If we take a look geographically, willy-nilly, the Republic of Moldova geographically has to be transited apart from the sea part to reach the most damaged areas in Ukraine, in southern Ukraine and southwestern Ukraine. that near our borders. So let me stress again the importance of this message of taking this process for both countries. Now, to answer directly to how we see things and what would be the strategic role or what could happen for Moldova to help, in our opinion, as long as Moldova is still not attacked by the Russian Federation, the companies and those interested in the reconstruction of Ukraine can come and start works in Moldova, getting ready for as soon as possible reconstruction of Ukraine, hopefully. This is setting up new companies, hiring staff, and so on. Because we, culturally, linguistically, we can be the crossing, the bridge in this reconstruction of Ukraine. I'll stop here. If you have questions, I'll take them, sure. Thank you, Minister. We will take questions at the end. We take down the idea of building together Moldova and Ukraine. This is the topic of our panel, together in a package, not separately. With your permission, I'll give the floor to George SCUTARU, CEO in the New Strategy Center, in an approach regarding reconstruction. Please, Mr. SCUTARU. Thank you. Let me continue with what the Minister said. If we speak of the reconstruction of southern Ukraine, it is only logical that if you are a foreign investor, you come to Romania. And we also have to consider the reconstruction of the Republic of Moldova, given that the two countries will be part of the EU, and we try to help them be part of the EU. Once the accession process starts, pre-accession funds will be sent to the Republic of Moldova and Ukraine. And we speak of a series of cities or towns in Satu Mare, down to Tulcea, and even Constanța, neighbors with the Transcarpathia, Cernăuți, Odessa regions in Ukraine, and with the border cities and border counties with the Republic of Moldova, and all of these being capable of developing projects with Ukraine and the Republic of Moldova. The Moldova region in Romania, as we know, is not as developed as the region neighbor or circling Bucharest or Transylvania. So it would be an opportunity to economically develop the counties in the Romanian side of Moldova. Also, in the Galați-Brăila region, this can be a great logistic hub for the companies involved in reconstructing Ukraine that also attracts the harbor Giurgiulești, Tiran, and Ismail in Moldova, and to better use the Danube. It's very important to have the presence of the German representative for the reconstruction of Ukraine, especially starting next June. Germany will host a conference worldwide for the reconstruction of Ukraine. So we know how important Germany's role is for the Danube trading, and all the more given that you have two access points to the Black Sea. It's the Straits of Turkey. We speak of the Montreal Convention, but we forget that the second access to the Black Sea is the Danube, splitting between Romania and Ukraine on the Kilia side. We have three advantages to explain to those that are here in this conference and to those that are interested in the reconstruction of the southern Ukraine. Romania is a NATO member, and we speak in the reconstruction of Ukraine of a process that develops, but that takes somehow part alongside this continuation of the conflict. No one can estimate when the conflict will end and how this end of conflict would look like. If you are a foreign company that wants to be ready to invest in Ukraine, Ukraine, it's natural to position yourself in a country that is covered by Article 5, and then proximity for Romania. If you want to rebuild southern Ukraine, as Italy is doing, that said, it undertakes the reconstruction of Odessa, or Denmark, that showed that 60% of the funds that they will allocate to Ukraine will focus on the Mykolaiv region. So if you are interested in the Odessa, Mykolaiv, Kherson, Zaporozhye, you have to be located, it's logical to be located in Romania. And the third advantage of Romania is the energy, the gas potential in the Black Sea. In 2027, Romania will become the largest natural gas producer in the EU. We'll have, in addition to the current production, 8 or 9 billion cubic meters of gas that can be delivered annually. So a foreign company interested especially in producing construction materials that take a lot of gas or a lot of energy has to come from, or you have to have an access to a certain fuel source. Of course, the Romanian state has to undertake the role of promoter of the role of Romania, and I'm so happy that through the messages rendered by the Prime Minister Ciolacu, Minister of Economy, that we are heading toward this direction. And there also needs that the Romanian company is interested in the reconstruction of Ukraine to get or to benefit from state guarantees. As we have a fund to guarantee the Romanian company is impacted by the war in Ukraine, you have to have a fund to guarantee. And Romania has this capacity to support 2 or 3 billion euro fund for the companies that are interested in coming to Ukraine and investing in or coming to Romania and investing in Ukraine. That is why the Romanian state has to undertake, announce, and really support such a fund through its bank systems. I'm thinking of Exim Bank and Czech, so that the Romanian companies feel they have the support and the safety net provided by the state. Thank you, Georgia. I think that on the need to guarantee the reconstruction effort in Ukraine, we'll hear more today and tomorrow, given that we have representatives from 3 banks. One is here with us, the speaker. And also, I would like to thank him for the idea that for Romania, it's an opportunity to develop eastern side of Moldova, Romanian territory, because most investments went to the west. All large companies, however, look toward the east as well. And it's a chance for us to harmonize Romania's economic development. Mr. Cătălin PODARU, CEO with Leviatan Design, will speak from his experience as an entrepreneur and design and construction company. Hello, thank you, Ionel. Let me bring the business perspective of this opportunity. And we spoke in the other panels and on other occasions on what this is for the business. I want to put this discussion of the opportunity of over $1 trillion funds coming to Ukraine from the perspective of the Romanian business. We currently have structural funds, resilience funds. Structural funds, I recently heard an interview of Madam Corina Crețu saying that for the 2021-2027 period, no project was submitted to access funds. And we have to spend by 2026 very many billions in construction projects. What is the current situation? You have more and more public tenders with important infrastructure, construction, hospital projects, where either no company shows up, or more, or only one company shows up. And that because there are very many funds on the market, very many projects on the Romanian market, but to develop Romania, we have to aim to continue to absorb these funds. And already After the pandemic, we saw many problems, and they are still there along the supply chain. So I think that what should be done in Romania, getting ready for this reconstruction, is to develop not just the logistic hub, but true production hubs. Production of construction materials, precast elements, equipment, so that when the market comes, there will be a quite a notable price increase and the lack of materials, and this will endanger the completion of work projects in Romania. That is why I salute the initiatives with grant projects for companies that want to develop the capacity in Romania. We plan on doing this as well for the precast sector, but also the initiative with the free areas, because that was just announced, because having these production facilities in Romania and drawing the local investment and foreign investments doesn't just come from the need to embrace an opportunity. For the above-mentioned reasons, this is a need. Otherwise, we will turn this opportunity that Romania has into a bottleneck of the constructions market and in developing all such facilities or other aspects. On collaboration, this is where stress should be put, and we think that it is of great importance for Romanian companies that, given this large investment, they should have development plans with new solutions, new precast elements, new construction technologies. We actually collaborate with companies that could very well serve these quick construction needs that provide modular buildings. And I'm not speaking of containers, those during the pandemic, but new construction technologies that come to provide Lego-type modules. And we saw this for hospitals. We have a partner in Dubai that produced whole hospitals, fully sealed rooms and chambers with new technology. So we have the possibility to create production facilities with innovation, with new technologies in Romania before this conflict ends. So we can develop the country in less developed areas as well, but to allow for the development of Romanian projects and to have also the capacity to deliver from a secure space construction materials for when this is needed. This is my perspective. If you have questions later on, yes, we'll take them at the end, Cătălin. Thank you. The risk of relocating companies or capabilities on the effort of reconstruction of Ukraine is a topic that was discussed with the Ministry of Transport. The other panel is a competition, indeed. Mr. Cristiano is quite the competitor, and well, somehow it followed the very many road and railway multi-annual projects with very important commitments as far as funding goes. Not just logistic hubs, but production hubs as well, and this is an opinion that is supported by the Romanian government. Let's see to what extent we can create or generate plans for construction materials so that we don't depend on import. Thank you for the ideas. I will now like to give the floor to Bogdan from BCR. Let me continue the line of thought of Mr. PODARU and Romania's main contribution in rebuilding Ukraine is a provider of stability. Romania had quite a good path in the past decade, and it has a good position, envied by many. We have an alignment of the political decision, we have access to funds, we have the will to get things doing. There is a social demographic issue that we are faced with, but things are somehow falling into pieces so that now we believe that we can create prosperity that gets people to, well, no longer leave the country. This is good to follow and to look into, and Romania can be a player in building a solid socioeconomic landscape, starting from the discussion with the manufacturing sector. I would relate or refer to three industries that seem to function quite well in the country and that could be vectors for regional development in the relation with Ukraine and the Republic of Moldova. We first speak of agriculture. I travel a lot in the country, and I can share that the Romanian agriculture has changed radically in the past 10, 15 years. As we speak, this is changing. We speak of farmers interested in modern agriculture, new technology, private irrigation systems, and as we could see, we see great yields for large crops that until 30 years ago, these were just on paper or just in our dreams. What if we imagined a cross-border collaboration with Ukraine, that is a grain keeper of the world, not just of Europe? What if Romania and Ukraine would be in this chain that provide food security for the 600 million people that live on the European territory? So maybe this should be discussed in bilateral discussions, joint ventures, but the topic of agriculture comes hand in hand with infrastructure, be it road infrastructure, rail infrastructure, or bringing back the Danube as main road of transport for the continent is worth discussing. Some can be discussed in Romania, others somewhere else, because the fact that we build a connection between Constanța or Bucharest and the northern border will help significantly in what happens with the Ukrainian products being transported to the Danube and to Constanța harbor.
Va cataliza dezvoltarea.
At the same time, it will be a catalyst for Romania's economic development. We are talking about construction materials, and we see reindustrialization. We see in Moldova, we see in Transylvania new factories, modern factories built with the latest technologies, but for those businesses to prosper, they need to be able to export. In order to be able to export, they need high-performance infrastructure, and it's good we started working on it, and hopefully by the end of 2026-2027, we will see everything that has started already finalized. Romania is better and better positioned in the energy market. We are working on interconnectivity, and we are delivering energy to Ukraine and Moldova, the Republic of Moldova. We need to discuss more at regional level, so whether we start low from the Mediterranean and go north, but we need the energy landscape that would give us an important role as a country, and with this role, we should be involved in the development of Ukraine and the Republic of Moldova. Third, we speak of IT. We know we have very good base. We know we produce code for many global companies. Maybe we are not in a rush to digitalize infrastructure, but on the other hand, mobile technology penetration rate is very high in our population. We have dedicated companies for cyber security, process optimization, and I think here we can have bilateral discussions as well with our Ukrainian partners so that we help with the implementation of such technologies and with the digitization of the country during the reconstruction process. I believe very much in the regional cooperation idea, and I believe that if in Romania, we keep continuing what we've done since our European accession, and especially in the past 10 years, we will be able to help very much with the development and reconstruction of the area and with the development of cooperation framework. Since the beginning of the war in Ukraine, Romania has been a trustworthy partner. We facilitated economic initiatives. We were a transit or destination country for more than 3.5 million Ukrainian citizens. We helped, at least we in BCR, we were the only bank to exchange at the official exchange rate the official Ukrainian currency for RON. We wanted to ensure the refugees access to the necessary funds. Moreover, we worked with translators so that these people who had been struck by catastrophe could feel they are in a safe place. This is my perspective. The more we do for Romania, the more we can do for everyone around us. Thank you, Mr. CERCENSCU. So, Romania is a provider of stability and development models, at least for agriculture, IT, and energy, these three fields. We now open the session for comments, questions. Please introduce yourselves. Thank you, Dr. Constant. Right now I am a member of the scientific board of NSC. I want to ask a question for all participants in the panel. If we were to rank three main challenges for the plans we have, all of us, all parties represented here, to have a significant contribution to reaching the objective, more specifically to play a strategic role in the reconstruction of Ukraine and the Republic of Moldova. What would be these three main challenges besides the war? Because if things get much worse, then there is nothing to discuss anymore. Thank you. Please, I don't know whether Mr. SPîNU is still with us. I will say two challenges, at least two challenges we are facing, but I think they will remain. First of all, I highly appreciate the opinions of my colleagues, but I want to note again that the vast majority of the hubs should go through Moldova, and this is the first challenge. The bridges and the cross-border points. Unless we solve this one way or another, we will have a bottleneck, a huge and a very serious bottleneck that won't be easily overcome. This is what happens now, and I don't see any serious initiatives, including from the European Union, Moldova, Romania, Ukraine, to move things, because even if you have good infrastructure, which we don't, but if you have bottlenecks with cross-border points or bridges, then things will not advance, and this is a visible problem now. The second great challenge challenge is about human capacities. Reconstruction itself will mean not just any human resources, will require engineers, civil engineers, people who are able to handle sophisticated equipment and machinery. We've talked a lot about innovation in constructions. I don't know about Romania, but in the Republic of Moldova, we have huge problems with finding people. When the Ukraine's reconstruction starts, besides infrastructure problems, we will have a competition with internal projects. So what will multinationals be doing? Multinationals working now in Moldova to rebuild roads. Will they continue working in Moldova, or will they be attracted by the 1 trillion mentioned earlier to work in Ukraine, and we will be left without capacities for the national projects? So these two things going hand in hand somehow make me believe that they should be tackled very seriously, and now we need human capacity, and we need to build this interconnection infrastructure now, before we reach T0 time, when we know that the war is over and reconstruction has started. Thank you. Thank you. If any other speakers want to step in. Ukraine's reconstruction should be connected with the security issue, because a poor result and front will probably lead to a frozen conflict in the most pessimistic scenario, and to the loss of seashore by Ukraine. I believe that right now the greatest danger for Ukraine and for the reconstruction is the war fatigue in the Western world. And we are talking about war fatigue not only in terms of military support for Ukraine, which is not granted in due time or in the necessary quantities. We have this administrative incapacity not only in terms of decision making, but look at the slow pace with which we are producing ammunition. We cannot speak of Ukraine's reconstruction if Ukraine does not win the war. For Romania, it is crucial for Crimea to remain Ukrainian and not to reach a so-called diplomatic solution where Ukraine is forced to give in Crimea and go on with the current status quo, meaning it is under Russian occupation, because that will mean that the Black Sea is region under much contested, and Russia will threaten many energy projects that Romania intends to develop. We've been discussing a lot about what Romania and Ukraine could do in the offshore area of the Black Sea. In the energy field, we can exploit together gas resources, but we also have an amazing wind capacity, and we won't be able to use it properly if Russians still occupy Crimea and have a very aggressive naval attitude. So it doesn't, such a period does not often appear in the life of a politician, but now we have the opportunity to connect the Republic of Moldova. And Minister, I would like to be able to identify a predictable deadline to have railroad with the European standards between Moldova and Romania, and that will help Ukraine and Moldova to break away from the Russian influence. And in Romania, we need to explain Romanians, and I think we don't do it. And I'm speaking here generally. I think it's the fault of politicians, first of all. We do not explain Romanians why we should help Ukraine with weapons, ammunition, financial aid, beyond what Ukraine's reconstruction means for Romanian companies. Romania needs a stable and democratic Ukraine which is integrated in the EU, because the alternative to have Russians at our borders, to have Russians near Danube, that is a strategic nightmare for Romania, and Romanians must understand clearly that this is the main objective, beyond conflicts or misunderstandings that are bound to happen between Romanians and Ukrainians. We need a strong Ukraine, and there is another thing at the level of connection between people. We are so close geographically, but only now we identify one another. For 30 years we've had so many stereotypes thrown at one another, and we've been so close, but only now we understand empathy towards the Ukrainian refugees suffering, and we have seen the strategic stakes of the Ukraine's resistance, and this is why it is important to build bridges and to have stronger relationships between Romania and Ukraine, to have more trust between Romanians and Ukrainians. Ukraine needs Romania because it is the border for more than 600 kilometers, but Romania also needs a strong and democratic Ukraine. Thank you, George. Cătălin. I don't want to repeat anything that has been already said. Indeed, from our perspective, infrastructure, lack of skilled people, these are challenges, but I would bring some new components, quite concrete. I would say the first thing that is a challenge for me is that personally, and together with George, we participated in many discussions and conferences on the reconstruction of Ukraine. But if I go back to the office and someone asked me, okay, where do we start? I think there is a lack of procedural clarity. More specifically, maybe we need a drill, a simulation, or a clear procurement methodology, so as to understand what we should be doing to be ready, because the time will come. Until now, I still have not understood how we are going to proceed. Maybe if anyone could draft a clear methodology, how can we work there? What should we do? With whom do we contact? This would be a challenge, and I think this is at the grassroots, but it is important for construction companies, and not only for any company that should supply something there. Another challenge I see in this process, George somewhat touched upon it. I think there is a huge cultural difference, for me at least. This year I visited Ukraine with George, and I discovered there a country I didn't know much about, and I strongly believe there are cultural differences that might be a challenge for this cooperation, but in reality we must do something to overcome them and have at our northern border a partner that we know are embracing the same principles and willing to integrate in the EU. And then, yes, we rely on Article 5 because we are NATO members. I believe that this security requirement, which is an advantage, should be strengthened by the permanent presence of American or NATO troops in Romania. I think this is a real challenge because in many discussions we focus on security and on how we will act in case Article 5 is activated. So I think the challenge is to ensure through troops that are permanently located in Romania to ensure this long-term security. Thank you, Mr. Cercescu. Two things. One is closer to us, the demographic component, which is not helping in this part of the world. And second, we speak a lot about concrete things that must be done and very little about how the funding will be ensured and about the financial flows. And probably we need to elaborate on this soon, including at European level, so that we understand how international financial institutions like the World Bank, EBRD, and so on might be prepared through specific means to develop this financing component for the reconstruction of Ukraine, because obviously we are talking about huge amounts that must be sourced, and second, they need to be handled across borders, and I think it's not too early, it's not too late to start thinking of these matters. Thank you. Thank you. I believe the answers will be satisfactory for the ambassadors. If I may, I will throw in another proposal besides guaranteeing the investments to be made there. Maybe it's time for the Romanian government to appoint a special envoy for the reconstruction of Ukraine, because you have seen today representatives from Germany, Italy, Greece, France. This person would have the important role of coordinating this effort, because rightfully so, companies will wonder what is the next step. We are willing, we have the capabilities, we have the overall picture, we went there, but what is the next step? We discussed with banks present here. There will be funding with state guarantees, but what is the next step? We have time for at least one more question, please.
Adică lucrurile au fost.
Has everything been so clear? We know everything we need to do? Minister SPîNU, are you still with us? Yes, but one more message. I want to thank my colleague who mentioned not just the progress with the railway. You know, the pre-feasibility study has already been realized, and we are discussing with DigiMove and Mrs. Volan, the European Commissioner for Transport, for such a project. But here we are getting back to what we've started. Our estimates only for the territory of Moldova indicate €1 billion necessary, if not more. Right now, the government of Moldova cannot provide the financial means for the project, and the Connecting Europe facility is the only European project we could identify, and that covers half. If we get funding 50%, we still have €500 million to cover, and the Republic of Moldova does not have the money. The second thing is that such projects have a time span of, on average, 7 to 10 years. Everything we start now will be finalized in 2030, 2035. And I end by saying that if we are serious about reconstruction and planning, we need to start now, not only the discussions, but we need to start writing down clear actions and to indicate how we can financially support such projects. I hope we will reach that historical and favorable geopolitical moment, favorable for Ukraine, but also the entire region. But we must ask ourselves whether we are ready for that moment. Thank you, Minister. To go on, Minister, it has been proven that both the European Union and Romania had the capacity to understand strategic projects and invest in that, and the gasoduct between Iași and Chișinău is such an example. I believe that a country like Romania will understand the strategic importance of such a project, and just like they assumed to co-finance the gas pipeline, to co-finance BRUA, we can discuss this connection between Chișinău and the Iași railway connection as a strategic objective. I think we should expedite other strategic projects so that we eliminate Russia's capacity to blackmail Moldova with the energy supply, and hopefully we will be able to end the malignant influence by Russia. As you mentioned, we need to support the Republic of Moldova to be sure that in Chișinău there is a pro-European government. You speak of projects that have 8-10-year duration. It is important for us to be sure that in Chișinău there is a pro-European leadership willing and able to cooperate both with Brussels and Bucharest. This is why it is very important to support the current democratic leadership from Chișinău and government, so that we make sure that the project you mentioned, Minister, can be finalized, so that we don't find ourselves in the situation where we have another Dodon in Chișinău, and we avoid the case where Moscow would install again another puppet government in Chișinău, an anti-European government that is hostile to Romania as well, as it has happened. Okay, if there are no other questions or comments, George mentioned energy, and the next panel is on energy opportunities at the Black Sea, with the participation of the Minister of Energy in Romania, in the Republic of Moldova, and the CEO from Transgaz, the Assistant Secretary of State for Energy Resources. So in that panel you will see more information on such projects that can be exported, as our colleague from BCR mentioned. Thank you very much for your participation, and let's take advantage of the time we have until the next panel for networking. Thank you.